Hello, everybody, and welcome to WTS 246. My name is Danny Murray.
And I'm Brian Merrigan. How are you, Danny?
I am very tired this week, Brian. Very tired, but I'm doing all right, mate. I'm doing all right.
Why are you tired?
I don't know. I think, actually, I do know. Cube's brother lost his phone, and he has an alarm set for 5 o'clock in the morning. He lost it in the house, right?
Phone?
And he has an alarm set for 5 o'clock in the morning to get him up to go to work. And for the last couple of nights, we've all been getting up to try and hear the alarm to find the phone.
Way.
And we haven't found it. So my sleep pattern is all over the place.
And can you hear the alarm at 5?
I couldn't hear the Q was maintained. She heard it. But I think she was fucking half asleep and delirious, to be perfectly honest.
So there's a phone lost in your house?
There is, yeah. There's a lovely iPhone. If anybody has a metal detector, they want to come down to me, gaff, search around for it. They're more than welcome to. So,
and you can't check my phone or like that. No?
Find my iPhone and all that.
Yeah.
You can, right? But it'll only give you the approximate location of it, which is in the gaff. We know it's in the gaff because it connects to he has an Apple Watch, so it connects to that. And oh man. And then we're like, right, let's ring it. It's on silent. It's not on vibrate. No, it's on silent. All right, grand. You can do this thing where you can make your iPhone ping from your watch, or if you log into that Find My iPhone thing, your Bluetooth has to be turned on. So it hasn't got Bluetooth turned on. So I'd say the battery's dead now anyway. And
you'll find that when you're doing renovations in about 4 years' time.
Cubes will be doing one of our deep cleans or whatever, and it'll turn up. Fucking one of the dogs will have hit it in their bed or something like that.
The dog's probably swallowed it. Lupo probably ate it.
I was gonna say, of all them, he's the lad I'd be looking at now. You know what I mean? But that's why I'm tired, Mero. That's why I'm tired. How are you?
Right. Yeah, not too bad. All good.
Yeah, good man. All right, that was nice and brief. I love it. I've got a big story, but you're like, yeah, I'm grand, mate. Move along.
I can't think of it.
Yeah, before we move along, must say hello. So, you a couple of weeks ago shared a story about an unpleasant experience you had with a woman giving you guff over the wonderful and amazing Sugsy. And I sent you a message afterwards. We a lovely listener, Graham, sending on support to you. Sandra, who listens in every week, she says you're gorgeous, by the way. And I just wanted to see your face there, the little eyebrow raise. You were like, go on. Now she's just sending in her support, and she said that one's obviously an wagon. You were not to mind her. So there you know. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, listeners getting in touch. How are you, Sandra? Thanks for listening. We just got straight to the guest, or is there anything you want to talk about?
No.
Anything you want to get off your chest, Graham? Got a new haircut. You're looking very fresh.
Yeah, got a cut. I went to Grafton Barber in Docky for the first time.
Grafton Barber in Dock, Graham, is made of money, so.
Yeah. I was going to nights in Dundrum, but I just said I'll try somewhere more local. That's a bit more accessible.
I didn't even know there was a Grafton Barber in Dock.
Yeah, they offered me a Pepsi Max and a mint as well.
Very nice. Pepsi Max raspberry flavour.
Oh, raspberry?
Unreal.
Raspberry?
Yeah. Now, you know I prefer Pepsi to Coke anyway, and I've said a million times.
Disgusting animal.
Can you calm yourself down? And Pat Flynn, I will fight you. Right? I don't care.
I love the cherry colas.
No, I'm not.
And I love vanilla Coke.
Vanilla I'm alright with, but I don't like cherry flavoured anything. Raspberry. Yeah.
Nobody asked for raspberry.
Beautiful. I did. Sent them a letter.
What other flavours do Pepsi do?
I couldn't tell you, man. I think they do a lemon one, or at least they used to do a lemon one, but I haven't seen it in years.
Do you ever go to Five Guys and you can get any flavour of anything?
Haven't been a Five Guys in years.
But do you know the machine?
I was there. Yeah. It's a very American thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's American diner. Yeah.
Some of the Burger Kings have them now. In there's Burger Kings in all the Apple Greens now, the big petrol, the big motorway petrol stations.
They have the drink dispenser, yo.
Yeah, where you can put in fucking half vanilla, half cherry, half fucking heroin or something. I don't know, man. Do you know what I mean? But you can't buy heroin in Apple Green, lads. I'm saying that for legal reasons before we get a letter.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean. You can mix and match your flavors and do whatever you want. All kinds of Fanta and everything you can put into it.
Coca-Cola the red brand is far superior than the blue brand.
Absolutely.
What about Freeway Cola from the Lidl's or the Aldi's?
I mean, that is obviously the greatest of all of them. I thought that just goes into a league of its own. Do you know what I mean? It's up there with, remember the old St. Bernard cola?
It's like diluted cola.
It's watery. It's watery cola, man. It's absolute piss water. That's all there is to it.
Who are we interviewing this week?
If you're in a bind, it's grand, I suppose. We are delighted to welcome back Ciaran Mulqueen, probably the fastest returning guest we've had on the podcast, and why not? We had a great reaction to Ciaran coming on a couple of months back, and the housing situation is still a shit show. So why not get an update from the man himself, the man behind Crazy House Prices Ireland. Ciaran, thanks so much for coming back on, man.
Thanks very much, lads. It bodes well for me that speed impresses you.
Yeah.
What's that quote from that movie? Anyway, yeah, it's getting worse. It's getting worse out there, but we're doing what we can. We're fighting the fight over on Instagram and giving out. I have a Twitter now as well, which has gone well.
It's an angrier place, isn't it?
Oh, I don't even look at the replies. It's wild. That place is like, I've had Twitter since like 2007 or something, whenever it came out. But like, it's just, my algorithm on my personal thing is just, it's fancy football and the sports and a few other bits. Like, there's not much going on it. But the Crazy House Prices one is mad. I just set it up though, because, you get more reach in terms of political and brands and stuff like it. Sherry Fitzgerald are more likely to respond to me giving out to them on Twitter than they are on Instagram, so it's picked up pretty well over there. It's pretty big now. I think about 12,000 or something, but
yeah,
it gets.
Do the estate agents be at you much?
Nah, not really. No, one or two give me a bit of grief, but not much. Sure, what can they do? I'm not doing anything wrong. They're the ones. Yeah. They're the ones lying. So
yeah, you've kind of taken up the Batman role against some of the estate agents and some of the shithousery going on there. It's great to see, but yeah, what's their reaction when you call them out?
Most of them just most don't respond. I'd one Dublin-based one. I won't mention his name. That got some weird fascination with me and was talking about me in all of his videos and giving me grief. I never even spoke to the chap and just sending me abusive messages and stuff. So I just blocked him. But the Twitter, they'll respond and they usually just go, "Oh, sorry, we'll have someone look into the ad." And it's mostly just like, if they put up the houses in, like someone there yesterday was in Leopardstown and they have it written down as Fox Rock, that kind of stuff,
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Classic, yeah.
But I've millions of them, I've loads of them. And then someone messaged me saying, if you put it in writing to the advertising standards place, they run them through the mill. So I must start trying to do that.
Are any of them ever corrected when you highlight it?
Yeah, a lot of the time they'll fix it in an hour because they're being found out, That's small fry. That stuff's just funny though, I don't mind that. Yeah. Like, it's kind of gone on for forever in Ireland, people will always have this kind of postcode notions, want to say they're from somewhere they're not. Like,
absolutely. As a person who grew up in South Killiney, adjacent.
Yeah. We always used to say South Killiney for the crowd.
I was going to give that example of Killiney and Ballybrack. But
now your audience, Ciaran. Now your audience.
Yeah.
It's mad. Like when I was young, I probably would have, especially because there was that whole thing as well. I remember, I don't know if kind of you heard it as well. There's that whole thing of like when you were getting car insurance for the first time now, put your address in as Killiney, your car insurance will be cheaper. You know what I mean? So that's what you do, like.
When you're young, not when you're 40 trying to buy a house, though.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I like to say I'm that Killiney is basically North Ballybrack. So if people ask where like Bono lives, I'm like North Ballybrack.
It's cooler to be from the more righteous areas.
This is it.
Well, we've long disowned Bono the Pox, so
I haven't, and I won't.
He lives in Killiney. He doesn't live in Ballybrack.
It's definitely
he's north side though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Cedarwood Road.
The fake north sider.
How is he?
Yeah. He's not Finglas.
It is out around Finglas, man.
Glasnevin, is it?
Glasnevin, it is.
Yeah, one of them. I don't know.
Look, go on to Daft. There's no such thing as Finglas anymore. It's gone. It's all Glasnevin.
Yeah, that's it.
And there's no such thing as Ballymun either. That's all Glasnevin. They've just eradicated these places off the map, and anything that side of the M50 is Glasnevin.
Well, that's it. To be honest with you, I don't know the north side at all, which speaks a lot of my ignorance. So, I mean, it could have been Darndale he was from, and I would have been saying Finglas.
Well, we won't talk about Bono too much. He gets enough airtime.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly. A very valid point. you have some news, Ciaran, of your own in terms of the property market since we last talked to you. Do you want to give us a little update on how things went down for you?
Yeah, we since we were last chatting, myself and Melissa, we went sale agreed. So that's
congratulations.
It's exciting. Yeah, we went off kind of off piste, as they say. We kind of just got fed up with the estate agents. I was on your mate's podcast, Dave McWilliams, and we were kind of just talking about the state of the market, and there's no value. And he was like, just pull out, like, if you can, if you're in a position where you can pull out, which we were. Just get out. Like, there's no value in it. Just leave it for a while. It's like anything, if something's not valuable, why are you buying it? So, and I kind of was always that way. I wasn't willing to bid more than something was worth. So, I was I suppose, were very good at not getting caught up in the bidding war stuff, because I'm too scabby to pay more than what the house is.
He was calling for a buyer's protest, wasn't he?
Yeah. Like, he was kind of going down realistically, it wouldn't work, because people have to move for whatever reasons. They're being kicked out of their rental accommodation, or kids, or whatever. So people have to move. So, but like, he was coming from the economic side of it, and he was right. The only thing that will stop this is if you just stop buying it, and if everybody agreed that no one is buying any of these overpriced shitholes, then they won't sell, so they'll have to drop the price. And like, economically and like in theory, that is the only way we can bring the prices down immediately. But obviously, like in realistically, it's just not possible. So we just pulled out. So, but then I just had this. I've been thinking about it for years, of writing a kind of a little love letter of sorts, and kind of just explain our situation, and then just banging in a load of letterboxes around where we want to live. And we did it, and we got lucky. So a lot
of property agents do that kind of thing, don't they? Like, I've got a thing in my door saying we're looking for houses in this area, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really? They do that all the time. Like, if you're looking to sell your house, we'll sell your house, blah blah blah. But like, our letter was a bit more, obviously, more personal, because it's people rather than a company, and just saying, we're local, we live here, we want to stay living here. I work across the road, we want to live close to our family. And if you're thinking, or your neighbors are thinking, it's worded really nicely. Melissa wrote it. She's nicer than I am, and I've gotten loads of messages, people asking me, here, can you give us a template? So
sell the template.
Yeah, I'm going to sell it as an NFT. 4 million, please.
Yeah.
I might be able to buy a second house then.
That's it, yeah.
So yeah, look, it's gone really well. The family are amazing. It's a lovely family. Their mother unfortunately died. She's kind of mid-90s, and so it's in probate. So that's kind of what's holding it up. But we should be sorted in the next week or so and get the keys and all that. But the family, like, it's just for 2 years. From spending 2 years on the market, talking to agents, bidding, emailing, and all that, it's not been an enjoyable process at all. It's been absolutely horrific. This process has been one of the nicest kind of things we've done. Like, we get to speak to the family, like, and they're telling us their stories growing up in the house. They're telling us, so and so used to live over there. Do you know, when you chat to like the lad, I think they're kind of in their 50s, maybe 60s, maybe even 70s, some of them, and like, it's two brothers. And do you know, when you're chatting to people of that generation, they just love to tell you a story about, when I was younger, I fell off do you know, that kind of stuff. That the nuances of that is lost when it's corporate, it's emails, it's figures in an email. Sale agreed, buy the house. The personal side of it is taken out of it a lot with sales, especially now, because it's a seller's market and everything is so hectic. So it's actually been lovely just to get to know the people and chat to them, and they're really, really nice, and they're delighted to give it to us then, because we're local and all that. And their mother was born in the house. It's 1922. Oh, wow. So she was born in the house, and they were all born there, grew up there. So
it's amazing. It's an interesting one, because like, we'll talk about kind of some of the horror stories that are out there in terms of what people are going through in terms of viewings and all that kind of stuff. But I'd say there's some people who don't even realize that you can do that you can try and circumnavigate the quagmire of agents and all that kind of stuff. Like,
the way I think about it is, the internet, like media, like technology is a disruptor, and I think what technology is doing is it's cutting out a lot of middlemen. You can now order food direct from the farm to your door. You don't have to go through supermarkets. So, and we see it in like the UK with they've Purple Bricks or whatever. They've websites where people sell their own houses, and realistically, like and I mean, I'm not dragging on estate agents here or anything. Like, I know I give them enough abuse on my page, but that's all kind of in jest, and I understand, like, this is their job. It's not their fault. But like, realistically, the solicitors do all of the work. So the estate agent puts up the ad and does the photos and all that. But like, we just put in our letter, look, don't worry about it. We know these houses. This is where we want to live. You don't need to get photos done. You don't need to do viewings. You don't need to pay an estate agent 1.5%, 2% of the fee. And we'll just buy it directly from you, and we'll pay you what you got it valued at, and the solicitors do the rest. So it's been amazing.
Brilliant. It's and I know, and I don't want to sound like that's that we're turning this into an episode where we shit on housing agents and all that kind of thing. But there are problems there, and kind of, I know, like, I've got two friends who have recently bought houses. One of them recently just got the keys, and the other one is sale agreed, and it's sale agreed for the other people to get the keys to their new house or something.
Right, find something else.
Yeah, there's some weird thing there. But like, I know at the start we were kind of having a laugh about the whole like gentrification of the addresses and whatever, and like, fair enough, Ballymun and Finglas don't exist anymore, but there's some other kind of red flags there as well. And when you said that you'd had 2 years of this kind of experience, like, what are some of the red flags that people should look out for?
I suppose that, like, it's hard enough to even just get a response from an agent now. People are emailing about properties and they just don't hear anything back, or there's houses that are still up for sale that are actually sale agreed or sold, but the agents leave them up to gather leads for their next house and all that kind of stuff. It's actually difficult to get a text back, as they say. So I would say to people, just ring them. They won't respond to emails for the most part. They're getting hundreds in, maybe 150, 200 emails for every house they're trying to sell. So ring them, and or if you're emailing, follow up the email with a call and just try and get through to them. But like I have a whole infographic on things to look out for when you're looking at a house, and a lot of it can be done before even going to a viewing. I've a checklist there of things to look out for, so you can kind of do your research before you want to waste your time if going to a viewing or putting a bid in. If where the house is, you can check if the asking price is somewhat normal compared to what is sold recently nearby on the property price register and all that kind of stuff. So I have an infographic there that kind of runs through everything basically you need to know. And sorry, go on.
No, sorry, I'm cutting across you. Is there anything that can be done in terms of, because the one that I constantly see, the one I constantly hear, is like that the asking price is set, but then you ring up and you're told, oh well, yeah, we actually have a bid that's 130,000 above the asking price. Like, yeah, it's a free market as well, so there's nothing that can be done about it. But like, it's alarming, isn't it?
And to be fair, and I'm going to stick up for estate agents here, like, they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. If they put the asking price too high, people are saying that's ridiculous. If they put the asking price too low, people are saying it's ridiculous. Like, why are you undervaluing it? Why are you overvaluing it? So, like, to be fair, that's the part of it that, they don't have that much control over. At the end of the day, their job is to get the most money for the vendor, and that's it. Like, they work for them. They don't work for you who's looking for a house. So they, like, some of them will do the old trick of putting a house up for much lower than it's worth, and well, it's up, like, if it's too good to be true, it is. And because statistically, I know agents use this trick, and they'll show, like, let's say you're trying to sell your house, the agent will come in and say, look, the house is worth 450, we're going to stick it up for 395, and they'll show you a little kind of diagram saying statistically houses that have more bidders end up going for more money in the end. So they want to price it low to get people interested, to honey dick them, as they say, and just get loads of bidders in. And the more bidders are in, the higher it's going to go up. So they get in a frenzy then, and then people, and especially if it's an online bidding system, people are, it's just a click of a button at any hour of the night. Whereas if you're ringing an agent to put a bid in or emailing, you can only really do it in office hours. So you may have to sleep on that decision, and you may talk to people and they might kind of talk you around, say, hold on, like, look, have a think about this. Yeah, you're losing your marbles here. So
is it the higher the bid? Like, let's say a house is on the market for 320 and it goes for 520. Is that beneficial to the estate agent? Will they get more money?
Yeah, let's say they charge 1%. Instead of getting 3,200, they're getting 5,200. So
okay,
yeah, and most of them charge about 1.5%, I think.
Is there nothing that can be done then? Because and like, fair enough, yeah, the estate agent at the end of the day, look, they're trying to get as much money for themselves as they can, so the higher the sale, the better for them. But is there nothing that can be done in terms of like the lads who go in? So like when we were buying our house, you know, and we were getting things done, the bank sent somebody out to have a look and be like, yeah, that's the valuation and what they're paying there. That's all good. Like,
yeah.
How can something that sold a year and a half ago for 300,000 suddenly the guy going out to do the valuation for it being sold at like 500,000 be like, that's all in order, that's all good, like?
Yeah, the valuers thing. I was only talking about this on my Instagram last week, but
that's where I got the inspiration from. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. Again, this is an agent's fault. It's not their fault if people are willing to spend 200 grand over the asking price. That's not like it's not their issue. Now, I do think when it gets to a certain point, they should halt the bidding and say, look, it's gone above what it's worth, because sometimes a bank valuer will go out and look at the house. Sometimes we'll go out and look at it, and let's say, using the 320 example, and there's an offer in a 520, they'll say the bank won't lend on it because they'll say, no, it's not worth 500. We're not giving you a mortgage of 500 grand for this house because it's only worth 320, because they're putting themselves at risk. Now,
so how do you decide who's going to get it then?
Well,
if there is no bidding war and there's just loads of people.
That's how, if let's say that was me and the bank said, no, I can't get it, well, then the agent will go back to the next underbidder, and then chances are maybe they have more cash. So if they're putting 200 grand cash into it, well, then the bank is now only lending 300 grand. So it is within their value. So it depends on a number of things, whether the person has a big cash deposit or if it's an entirely cash bid, well, then there's no bank valuer anyway because it's not going through a bank. But if it is going through a bank, what I'm hearing a lot of the time, and this is from people that run valuation services in banks, one fella messaged me saying they will go out there and they will look at the house and they'll say, what's the sale agreed price? 520? Yeah, grand. And they'll sign it off. I don't know, like, well, that is from a good source, I suppose, but
yeah.
I suppose it is nuanced. It depends on you know, how much cash the person is putting into it as a deposit, what is sold recently nearby. But like a lot of the time, you got to think the valuer is another agent, so it's within their interest to say, well, if that's sold for 520, that means the next house I go to sell, I can get it upwards towards 520 then, instead of being down at 320. Do you get me?
Yeah.
So they, when they're doing a valuation, they need to give 3 comparables. They're supposed to anyway. And if they can't find them, they'll just search high wide and they'll go out. Yeah, find them. But if there's one right beside that's gone for 520, then all of a sudden this house next door that was worth 320 is now up to 520. Do you know what I mean? So it's a racket. But
do you get many whistleblowers from the industry contacting you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had people. I had a fella contact me, and he was working for a vulture fund, and he just quit. He was like, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror in the morning.
Jesus.
He's serious.
He just gave up. Yeah, he's selling kayaks or something now, and he's living the dream. So yeah, you get a few of them. I can't post a lot of stuff, you know. I don't want to get sued. So
yeah.
But yeah, some bad stuff
going
on.
So what was he feeling the pressure of in the vulture funds? Just the way the whole process works?
Yeah, it's just like it's horrible. It's
a scummy.
It's a whole vulture, like, you know, the cuckoo funds or whatever, you know, displacing first-time buyers from homes and all that kind of stuff. So
did you see Rory Hearn from Reboot Republic podcast, the Hines, I think,
with Hines and Drumcondra?
Yeah, he said that they were a vulture fund and they sent him a legal letter
trying to sue him,
to withdraw the remark that they said he was a vulture fund. And Rory's like, no, you're a vulture fund. That's what you are.
Yeah. And
Mad, isn't it?
Rory's amazing. I was on Reboot there a few weeks ago. He's fantastic, and
he's brilliant.
Like a man that knows what he's talking about. He's a lecturer in social policy and economics. So like that development he's talking about is on my mum and dad's road on Griffith Avenue, and the rents are just astronomical. And they've chopped down loads of those lovely trees. I know you don't know the north side, but Griffith Avenue is quite famous for the trees along it. It's as I always said when I was younger, it's the longest treed avenue in Europe. It's a gorgeous road.
I know the road you're talking about. Yeah,
it's stunning. But they've chopped down loads of the trees that have been there for hundreds of years for the entrance to this kip, and it's horrible. And the building they're covering up as well. Like the building behind it is the old college, and it's like this stunning Georgian building that's like kind of up on it. It overlooks like kind of, well, it did before they built Marino and all that. It looks straight down towards the Liffey, and like it's a stunning building, and that they've just completely covered it up with these boxes, like these horrible prison looking apartments that are $3,000 a month, and it's just so I think that's the development he's talking about anyway. But they bought all that, and it's but basically every apartment now is built to rent because they're so expensive to build, and the only ones that can afford to build them are these big, huge $1 trillion investment funds or vulture funds.
Well, that's look. I mean, we always try to mention local, and we've already done it once. But I mean, Cherrywood out in the Brack, like massive amount of building going on out there. But chances of anybody from the Brack actually benefiting from that, slim to none.
Yeah, you could do. Did you ever see that meme of your man? It's a video. Your man, and he's in Harlem or something, and he's like, I do this every day to keep the rent down. He puts the gun out the window and fires off a few shots in the air.
It's not a bad show. Not a bad show at all, man.
Yeah.
So just go let off a few bangers around the place.
Yeah. Not staying here.
In terms of kind of that vulture fund piece and all that, has the picture got better at all, or is it still? It's just not in the headlines as much.
I think it's coming back in with people. I think the appetite for COVID headlines now is just gone, and housing is back number one on the political agenda. They haven't gone anywhere. They're even worse, if anything. So what's happening actually is they're buying a lot of one-off houses as well, like second-hand houses, so they're called, or whatever. But they could be fifth or sixth hand at this stage. But older houses that they used to not buy up. They were kind of just buying up estates, but now they're buying up kind of older houses. So like the houses I'm bidding on, that's who you're up against, and you can't compete against them. They're willing to go in at like 50, 60 grand over asking straight away and get it off the market. But if you go in at 70, they'll go in at 80, and they just keep going up. They've bottomless cash reserves, and then they're a cash buyer as well. So as a seller, you're thinking, right, well, will I sell it to this chap who, the mortgage, the bank might say, no way, he's after getting COVID, so he can't draw down, and we'll just give it to the cash buyer, because there's no risk if they sell to a cash buyer. It's done and dusted. Whereas there's always a risk when you're selling to somebody who's looking for a mortgage, and even a first time buyer and who only needs 10%, and you may have everything in place, but banks are so strict now, and like they aren't giving people can't draw down if they're on maternity leave, if they've had COVID, and all.
If you're on maternity leave, you can't draw down.
Yeah, like if you're on maternity leave and it's not being topped up by your employer to get up to your usual wage, like people on maternity leave can't draw down on their mortgage. So it's just COVID has really just destroyed a lot of the whole process, and it's really worked. It's kind of worked in favor for cash buyers or investors because they don't need to worry about banks. And then you can't really blame people for selling to a cash buyer, because like people want it, they need as much money as they can get to buy their next place, because the price has gone up on that as well. So it's just a bit of a shit show.
Yeah, shit show is a good way of putting it, man. And in terms of kind of political action on it and whatever, and I know you've kind of crossed paths with one or two politicians recently enough, like are they just, you know, throwing words out there but very little action, or?
It's a tough one. You know, it is tough because I'm always giving out about politicians. You know, I'm always moaning about them because I don't think they're doing enough, and I do think there are some solutions there, some very simple ones. But then I'm also not naive. I understand things are more complicated than I think they are. You know, I don't know how the ins and outs of how things work. But like, I was listening to Darragh O'Brien, he on with the lads on Reboot or on Tour de Shack with Tony and Martin on that, and they were interviewing Darragh O'Brien, and like, when you hear Darragh O'Brien talk, like, it's hard to deny that he knows what he's talking about, and you know, he sounds really passionate and he wants to solve these issues. But I mean, he's nearly, he's over, is it 2 years now he's in, and things have gotten a lot worse.
Just over a year, yeah.
Well, when was it? It was before COVID, wasn't it? So
no, they only formed the government last July.
Yeah, I was going to say the election was in February or March, but the government, it took nearly fucking 6 months to form or something. The mad things.
I agree with you in relation to that, because I did see him on Ireland AM, with Alan Hughes and another presenter, and he is very convincing in his rhetoric, but then you just look to the actions and you don't really see the actions. He also tried to, is it true, he also tried to write a book, but some lawyers were doing fact checking and some of the facts in it were actually inaccurate, so they couldn't go to print on his book on housing.
Oh, I didn't know.
So yeah, so
never heard that before. I don't know, man.
So I mean, it's very hard to be optimistic about it when a year in charge and speaks good, but there's feck all action.
Yeah, but then like even we're going through the probate process now for the House of Buying. Everything in Ireland just takes forever when it comes to the civil service. Like, everything takes forever. So I go through waves. Some days I'm like, no, fuck them, they don't know what they're doing. And then some days I'm kind of like, look, like maybe he is trying his best, you know. But it's he's announcing his Housing for All thing, which was supposed to be announced this month, but it's pushed to September because there's a few things that need to change. And you know, they do like kind of kite flying exercises. They leak little bits of info here and there beforehand, and the latest one is, you know, they'll be given stamp duty incentives to empty nesters, which is a horrible phrase, to basically to old people trying to kick them out of gas. That kind of thing didn't really.
That's a real Tory thing, though, isn't it? Didn't the Tories do that in England?
Yeah, like, I don't know if they need an exemption on the stamp duty. Like, they're probably making, you know, they probably bought their gaff for $2,000, you know. So it's a weird one. And then, you know, talking about giving 500 million to developers is absolutely insane. So they do these kind of kite flying exercises to see what the reaction is before they release the thing. And the shared equity scheme hopefully isn't in it. That's been absolutely debunked by every professional, every expert in the industry. So it's hard. It is hard to know, like, are they actually doing their best? I honestly don't see how they haven't tackled vacant housing yet. And people are probably listening to this going, does this fella ever talk about anything other than empty gaffs? And I'm like, no.
Yeah. But what's the hold up with that, though?
But I don't know, like, I don't get it. Like, they could do that tomorrow. Just put a tax on them. Use or lose it. Good luck. If you're sitting on a house that's worth 500 grand that you inherited 40 years ago and it's been lying derelict since then, renovate it or sell it. So, like, they're doing it in Europe, whether it's Barcelona, Germany, or something like that, are doing it where they're bringing it in. They're just like, no, look, we can't have dereliction. Like, go to Denmark, like in Denmark and Copenhagen, and there's no dereliction in the city centre because it's so in demand to want to live near the city, that it doesn't get a chance to go derelict because it's being snapped up by people because they have to sell it. Whereas walk around town and look up. People rarely look up. We're always looking down on our phone, but look up going around town and look at all the empty units above shops. Look at all the vacant entire buildings just lying there, just to rack and ruin. There's so many empty and vacant homes all around the city, in the suburbs, in the States. They're everywhere. They reckon there's 200,000. That's massive.
But we've kind of, and I know, kind of, I think you might have talked to Dave McWilliams about this when you were on his podcast, and I think he talked to us about it when he was on this podcast. Like, we've kind of abandoned the whole idea of like living above a shop or living on a main street and that kind of thing. Our European friends are much better at that kind of thing. You know, if you go to Paris or you go to wherever, every single room above a shop or above a cafe or above a bakery is occupied. But here, you just don't see it anymore. You just don't see those kind of things. Like,
yeah, and they blame the regulations, they blame red tape, and you know, access is a major thing, and fire regulations and all of that. So, but I mean, there's the way I look at it is there are people there that are far more intelligent than I am. Okay, that are getting paid millions and millions to advise the politicians, to advise TDs. And I was on Claire Byrne yesterday with Philip Boucher-Hayes, and I said, and I was like, my job, I'm a teacher, so like I'm here to educate children. I shouldn't have to educate government, but like that's what their advisors are there for. And it's not as if we have to reinvent the wheel. We just need to look at what other countries are doing well and copy it. It's not new. Like, do you know what I mean? We don't need to be totally inventive and come up with a brand new system. Just copy what Vienna are doing, copy what they're doing in Denmark. Finland will eradicate homeless in the next 18 months or something. So it's like the
there's no will though. There's no political will, and that's exactly, what we're missing. They would rather come up with proposals where they see property developers take the brunt of it in terms of profit and stuff like that. Because if you look at the Fianna Fáil housing schemes in previous decades gone by, it was up to the county councils to build the houses. They would hire builders and they would hire architects and stuff to design estates. But that doesn't happen anymore. No county council are building houses. It's all property developers, and with the stipulation that a percentage goes to local county council, where it was the other way around. And they just built council estates in the 50s and the 60s, and they were brilliant. They had character. They had everything. And if like, to me, on the outside looking in, how come they can't go back to that way of dealing with things?
I'm with you. I totally agree. Look at Marino and look at Crumlin, like unbelievable areas, so well designed. The access in and out of roads and all, they're spectacular. And like, I know there's not the space within the city, but there's thousands and thousands of hectares of land all within the M50 that is available, and that is NAMA owned. They own the land. So, like, if you're a developer, what developers are doing is basically buying the land, and they're paying builders to do a bit of work. They sell off and they make a lot of profit. So, like, why don't they just become the developer and hire the builders, build the things, and then do it for profit? So I'm a big believer in doing mixed development, so you don't create these ghettos again of Ballymun, you know, where it's not just towers and you're piling a load of social housing in there. Do mixed development, do part fully social, do part affordable, and then do part private. So you'll have doctors living alongside single parents, you'll have teachers living alongside artists, and you know, you've got a diverse group of people then that are happy to live there and are paying what they can afford. And that's the main thing, just paying what you can afford.
Absolutely.
Nobody is over leveraging. And then you don't get this kind of ghettoization of an area. You don't get a stigma. You don't get the antisocial behavior. You get a nice diverse crowd and people of all different colours, people of all different religions, people of all different beliefs, and that's the way society should be. You know, I teach and educate together skills, so I'm really big on this and on diversity, and it's I don't know why they don't do it, because they, like you said there, when Fianna Fáil did all that building, like we did that when the country was on its knees. We hadn't a pot of piss in. We'd no money. Whereas now we literally have access to free money from the ECB at 0% interest rates. Yeah. It doesn't cost us anything. Just buy it, just take a loan, build it. And then and they could even do it to make a little bit of profit, and then any bit of profit that gets made gets put into the next scheme in the next area. It's a no-brainer, I think. And it makes no sense why they aren't.
If they could do it in the 50s, they can do it in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, like we threw someone on the moon in the 60s, for God's sake.
That was with a Commodore 64. Like.
They can't build a few gaffs. I don't know. It's mad.
It is a pain in the hole, though, isn't it? Like for people, say, even like myself, 36, still living at home, still living out the back in an extension. Like there is no prosperity to, as a single man, to buy a house. Like, you know, the only prosperity is that I'll have to find a partner.
Yeah.
Hopefully fall in love and hopefully be in the position to buy a house together. But that's all buts and ifs. Like I'm in a good paid job that should be able to buy a house in my area, but it's
there's not a woman in the land who could tame you, Graham Merrick.
Absolutely not. That's my point. I'm a single man. I should be able to be in the position to buy an apartment or buy a bungalow or buy somewhere that suits my needs, where there's nothing like.
The problem is, and I'm always saying this, like single people are, like it's bad for me, but it's single people have been destroyed with this housing policy, and they literally don't stand a chance, as you said. And it shouldn't be a case where you have to be conforming to social norms of, you know, a man and a woman and a couple of kids to be able to buy a house. You know, it's ridiculous. That's not the way society is now, you know. So it just plays very much into the old. It's the type of people who vote for Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, to be honest. They're not of that generation where people can be in any way diverse and have any other sort of beliefs or gender or sexual preference. You know, it's very much, you know, now it's a man and a woman, you buy a house, you get married, you buy a house, you have kids. So and single people are totally destroyed by this. And it ties into the reason why they allow these investment funds to buy up all 1 and 2 bed apartments is because they don't see them as family homes. So the government do not see a 1 bed apartment as a family home, because they only see a family as a man and a woman and kids. You know, that I think comes down to the bones of it with them.
Yeah, and there's a weird kind of, and I don't know. I could probably do with your Melissa here to help me word this, because I'm gonna make an arse of this. But there's a weird kind of link and a weird kind of pattern in this that kind of plays out in my head. I was listening to your interview with Philip Boucher-Hayes on the Claiborne show, and kind of you jokingly kind of said that, you know, you're in your mid-30s now, and, you know, people still refer to you as a young lad, but like when your parents were your age now, they were on their third gaff and they'd had a gang of kids and all that kind of thing. And I'm very conscious, like, you know, we're not exactly the most diverse group on this podcast at the moment. We're 3 white lads in our mid-30s, you know, but there's a problem in Ireland that politicians keep talking about, and it's this whole thing of we have an aging population where the pension is going to be absolutely goosed in a few years. We're all going to have to work for longer, all this kind of stuff. But it's all cyclical, I think, because like if the housing situation wasn't the way it was, in my head at least, and I'm probably talking out my hole, but if the housing situation wasn't the way it was, people would be able to get out from underneath their parents' roofs earlier, which would allow them to go and, you know, do things sooner, i.e. if people wanted to have a family, they could. And I think that's what was happening in 60s, 70s, 80s. Like our parents' generation were able to get out from under their parents' roofs because the housing stock was there. They were able to get on with their lives. They were able to have a family if they wanted to and all that kind of thing. But now, like, we're all in our 30s. I don't have kids, Mero, you don't have kids. You don't have kids yet either, Ciaran. Like, there's a reason we have an aging population. I think this all feeds into it. I don't know if I'm making sense there. I think I'm kind of stringing together what I'm trying to say, but like
people have had to push on their milestones in life, you know.
Yeah,
and
we're all having kids later, kind of thing, and that causes the aging population to go up and up and up.
That, and people can't afford to have 7, 8 kids now.
Yeah,
you just can't. So. And they don't want to either.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know, you'd no option back a couple of generations.
Yeah, there was no internet. There was no Twitter to get angry at back then.
you get to 18 and you're kicked out. That's it. You're on your own. But you'd find your own. But yet they had places to find. You could find somewhere to live. There is nowhere. And we're looking at massive emigration again. And it's just 10 years after the last time it's happening again, where all of the young people who all of our taxpayers' money has educated them up to a very high level in college, and now they're just going to take all that talent and they're gone to somewhere where that's going to appreciate them, somewhere that's going to treat them as a human, somewhere that's going to pay them better. Like if you're a nurse, if you're 21, you're after going to college, you're a nurse, you're graduating from college, you've just done your placements during the middle of COVID, you're working 24-hour shifts in a hospital for no money, for free. And at the end of all of that, they give you a few claps on the door at 8 o'clock and then away you go. Why would you stay here? I'd be gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd be absolutely furious if I was a nurse and I'd been treated that way by government, and they didn't even pay them. What, they give them a couple of 20 quid a week or something ridiculous.
Something stupid. It was enough to cover a bus fare.
It was insulting. You're better off just not giving them anything. Yeah. So why would you say it? Why wouldn't you go off to London or go off to Australia and get paid properly, or and have a better quality of life? Like, you're in the sun. You've loads of other Irish people over there, probably your age, because half the population are going to emigrate again. So it's very short-sighted from the government. I mean, I know they work off votes, and my thing is, and what I've been trying to explain to people, because people ask me all the time, what can they do? And what I say all the time is talk to older relatives, talk to your parents, talk to your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, if you're lucky enough to have them around, if your parents, if you're lucky enough to have them around, and talk to them and just explain. And if you can't find the words to express how bad the situation is for us, and we're not young, we're mid-30s, I have a few go-tos. First one would be send them on the podcast that Blind Boy did with Rory Hearn. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. Get them to play it on 1.5 times speed if they want to listen to it a little bit quicker. But listen to that, because it kind of summarizes everything really, really well. It explains investor funds. It explains the societal impacts it has on people being infantilized. And the Blind Boy put it as, you cannot grow up when you're in your 30s in your ma's box room. She's washing your jocks. Yeah. So
the king of woke's accent at 1.5 is something that I have to check out, actually, in fairness. Blind Boy speaking at 1.5, I can only imagine what that sounds like.
Yeah, I listen to everything at 1.5.
Yeah, that's because you're too busy.
Yeah,
there aren't enough hours in the day for you. Yeah,
no, I'm on my holidays now, so I'm all right. I'm getting it all in. But so that'd be the first one. So if you can't express it to older generations, send them on that podcast and just sit there and fucking force them to listen to it. And then the other thing is, the thing you hear all the time from older generations is, sure, it was tough for us all. We all had to sacrifice. We all had to make sacrifices. We didn't go on holidays, and and it was really hard, and our interest rates were 15% and blah, blah, blah. And the answer to that one is, right, how much you buy your house for? All right. Yeah. And how many multiples of your salary was that house? And was it a single salary? Yeah, usually. So it's usually a single income, and it's usually 1, 2, or 3 times a single income, maybe twice if 2 of them were working. But for the most part, people of my parents' age anyway, it was a single income. And then explain to them, okay, the exact same house that you're talking about, let's say next door, it would cost me 10, 12, 15 times the single income. So think of it that way. When you were buying your house, instead of having to pay twice what you were earning a year, you had to pay 15 times what you were earning a year. And kind of put it in that way, and they're like, okay. And then the other thing is, just say to them, right, pretend you have to try buy a house tomorrow, come back to me.
Yeah.
Let me know, can you find anything?
Yeah.
And they won't. So the first thing is just try and get them to listen to that podcast, because they can word it a lot better than I, and Rory is so kind of knowledgeable on everything, because that's his job, I suppose. And Blind Boy is just magnificent at, asking questions that we're all thinking, but we don't really know how to ask it, putting it into the right words. And it's just funny though, because I know he uses the C word in it a few times. So when you're giving it to older people, they're like, Jesus,
yeah.
A lot of curses in it. But it's a phenomenal podcast, and it was only in June, but I think it'll be timeless until this thing is sorted out. So I'm going to share it all the time on my page. And
will it be sorted out though?
Well, good question.
What we need is, as we already said, is political will, but Are you, as an observer of this industry, are you confident, say, in a next government? Would you be confident, say, in Owen O'Brien taking the book of Minister for Housing with his plans?
Yeah, I think he's fantastic when it comes to housing. I'm not really, I don't have like a party that I favour. There's aspects of every party that I dislike, and there's aspects of every party that I do like, and I think most people are kind of like that. So I suppose if I was to position myself, I'd probably be kind of a bit more left, centre left leaning, or maybe left. And I always think, wouldn't it be amazing if we could do like a kind of an all-stars of politicians, and you could say
on the left.
Yeah, I just say, look, Owen O'Brien is phenomenal at housing, and he obviously knows more about housing than all of the rest of them. He's literally written books on housing. So we'll stick him in housing. And then you might say, okay, well, so-and-so knows everything about sport. We'll make them the Minister of Sport. So-and-so knows everything about education or disabilities or anything that's like, you know, like super important in society, and put the best person in there for that position. But that's never going to happen with party politics. So
Irish politics just cannot reach across the divide. They can't. No. The only time they'll reach across the aisle is to save their own skin and to save their own seat, evident by the current coalition.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I do think Owen would be great. I think Ciaran O'Callaghan would be very good as Minister for Housing as well. And to be fair, probably Darragh O'Brien would be good if he was in a better party, you know. So it's a tough one. Yeah, it's hard. I've no allegiances to any parties, and I think the only thing that's going to work in terms of getting housing, we need to get house prices down. But when you say that to the Fine Gael and the Fianna Fáil voting base, they shit themselves. They're like, what? You want house prices to go down? You mad? But you need to try explain to them, your kids won't be able to live here. Your grandkids won't be able to live here. I've mates in their mid to late 30s living at home because they can't afford to buy a house, and they still vote for Fine Gael. And it's like, you realise why you're living at home. Like, and it's, you know, I don't see them changing. That's the thing. So it's going to take a change of government, really, to make a difference. And I think the main issue I think we're having at the moment is obviously a chokehold on supply, because one, they're not building anything, and two, a lot of the supply is being bought up by investment funds. So the only threat to investment funds, and they've said this themselves, is government policy, if there's a change in government policy. And they have said this themselves at their annual general meeting or whatever, of your Hines, your Kennedy Wilsons, all these people. So I think if they got wind that there's a change of government and government policy is going to change and we're going to be taxed to the hilt, they'll sell up. And then all of a sudden you wake up on a Monday morning and you've 240,000 houses on the market for sale, you know, and then all of a sudden, hey, presto, prices go down.
In what world do investment funds become priority over your people?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Sick though. It's just like sickening. Like,
I think they just another issue with politics is a lot of them, you know, get into politics for the wrong reason, and they get into them because of the jobs they'll get after it. They'll keep their TD pension, but they'll be maybe on a lobby group, and like there's a lot of former politicians who are now lobbyists. And
our former housing minister, great example of that.
And he was in my electoral area. Oh, Murphy, he was a TD
constituency.
Constituency, Dublin 8. But he, like, that's an issue. You know, they've kind of been, they've been, I'm not going to say bought, because I don't think any of them are taking money or anything. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But like they are writing the policy. You know, the lobby groups that are writing the government policy, really, when you look at it. So it's just they've gotten into bed with them, and they just, you know, it's like they've been chained to the bed and they won't let them leave. There's an image for you now.
Yeah. I could do without it. We're nearly out of time with you, man, and we've barely scratched the surface as always, but it's such a broad topic, I suppose it's impossible to do it without going in kind of more detail, which is something people can do if they jump onto your page and go to your Patreon. Now that you've gone sale agreed and fingers crossed everything goes through and you have the keys in your hand fairly soon, would people still be all right to look for you for advice and everything else, or what's going to happen to the page?
No, I'm running for election with Fine Gael, and I'm doing everything I can to get prices up now. I'm going to sell up next year for double what we paid. Yeah, of course. No, if anything, I said this yesterday. Actually, if anything, it'll kind of make me even more dogged now on the page to try and help in any way I can to bring about a little bit of change, because now I don't need to worry about pissing off estate agents.
And so the Patreon and everything is going to keep ticking over as well. And yeah, the
Patreon is great, man. I love it. The people over there are amazing, and I do good little Q&As every week with them, and it's just a really nice group of people. They're all really kind and a lot of nice messages, and
are they all supportive. Are they all trying to buy as well, or
not really? Some people are just, they just throw a few quid a month just to say thanks. There's loads of people that are on the page that have no interest in buying. They just, it's an Irish thing, isn't it? We're a bit obsessed with property, so and
property I think and charts. You make a great graphic.
Oh man, you want to see this mortgage one I'm doing? It's taken me a week.
Is this the interest rates?
Oh my God, I'm raging. I even said yes. And now I'm thinking, hold on, I'm not putting this, why am I putting this up for free? I'm doing all the banks advertising for them for free. I need to be charging them. It's taken me forever. It's done now. I'll probably post it tomorrow or something. I'm just kind of like, I don't even want to look at a percentage again. Jesus. But the people I suppose they like the kind of, the bit of crack in it as well, taking the piss a little bit, and it's not all serious. And I'm trying to make a little bit less doom gloom as well, because it is a lot of moaning on my part, and there's nothing I can do about that, because everything is a negative situation when it comes to housing. But there's not many good stories. So, but I am doing a thing I'm trying to do it every week, where I'll put a little question box up and people can send in their good news stories, and I'll share those, and that really helps people. I think they get a lot of stories in where, somebody might say, just gone sale agreed as a single buyer under asking price. And then Mero might see that and think, oh, do you know what, there's hope there, people can do it. And it's not, it is possible for people, if they can see that, you see that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's hard when you're in it, and this is a bit like, now I'm sale agreed, I'm coming out saying, no, it's grand, you'll be grand. But it's
we got there.
It's, now I had to take drastic measures to get there, but it can happen, and it is doable, and you never know, something might just come up and you might get lucky. And I don't know, I think you make your own luck, and if you keep putting good karma out there, geez, this is getting a bit, we're going back to that cult tomorrow.
You're getting a bit like The Secret here, aren't you?
The Secret, yeah.
Visualize your house. You will walk into it. No, but I feel, I don't know how we got this house, so I'm like, maybe it's good karma I put out there, because I was getting hundreds of messages a week. People go, oh, thanks so much, you helped me go save. No, maybe I'm that's a bit hyperbole, but like a few messages a week, people saying thanks so much for all your tips, I've gone sale reading. I'm like, oh yeah, nice one. I'm still looking. So eventually we got there. But the good news stories do help people kind of see, okay, it's possible. These aren't investment funds messaging me saying, oh yeah, I bought a house. It's real people. So I'm always there for people as well if they need any advice or any help.
Lovely. And one last thing before we let you go out in, are you getting a second beehive, or what are you doing?
We have two. We've two on the roof.
Oh, you got a second one already, did you?
Yeah, they put two in actually instead of one. I thought it was going to be one, but we got two. And at the start, I think there's about 20,000 bees in each one, so 40,000 total now. But now I think there's like upwards of 200,000 in between the two hives now. He's put like a...
What?
Yeah, he's put an
It's amazing and terrifying to me at the same time, man.
It's unreal. Now, to be fair, I haven't... We have a beekeeper that looks after it all. His name's Anthony. He's a legend. He's from the flats down the road from the school, and the Irish Times did a great piece on him with a video and all, and it's part of this thing called the Inner City Beekeeping Project with it's called Robert Emmett and the Digital Hub there in Dublin 8, and they funded all the hives, and I think they pay him, and he goes around, looks after all the hives. He's about 25 hives, I think, around Dublin 8, so two of them are in our school, and he just comes in and up he goes on the roof and whips out. I bought him a nice little ladder, a little kind of retractable ladder, telescope ladder, I think it's called, and he pops up on the roof. So I haven't been able to get up. I've been up like on the roof, but not like hands on in the hive because I haven't had a suit on yet. So next time he's coming, I'm gonna pop a suit on. I'll get a few photos and stick them up. They're mad jokes. They're amazing.
Deadly.
Yeah. I'm terrified of bees, wasps, all that kind of anything that buzzes. I crap me bags, to be honest with you. But at the same time, like obviously they're deadly. Like
we need the bees, though.
I was gonna say that's it. Yeah, like
bees won't sting you. Jesus, lads, we could do another podcast on this, but bees won't sting you. That's wasps might. They're a bit more aggressive.
Wasps they're little fucking harbingers of doom, and I'll happily have an electric tennis racket that I'll happily kill them with. But a bee, I'll always leave a window open and just leave the room until they've done their bit and got out. Like.
Who's sponsoring this podcast? You better not be someone environmentally conscious.
No, we've no one anymore.
No, people ask me.
We had a weed whacker.
Yeah, we had a clean ball situation going on for a few weeks, but
people asked me about me pubes for a few weeks after the last episode.
Yeah, and this would have been a great opportunity to plug that, but we're not in bed with them anymore. So
plug yourselves, lads. Plug your own.
This is it. But yeah, that do put up more stuff about the bees than you can, man, because it's mad, right? I'm as a generally terrified with them, but at the same time, I love this whole kind of urban thing that's going on, where more and more we're seeing kind of beehives on roofs and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that you're just seeing average kind of people donning those mad bee suits and all that kind of stuff. I'm dying for the video to happen though, where a bee gets inside the suit and sheer panic comes along. Like,
they do get in, and when I was there the last time with Anthony, the beekeeper, one was in, and beekeepers had I suppose they're doing it so long, they're just able to kind of relax, and there was a bee a bee just flying all around his face, and he was so calm. He was like a ninja, and he just very calmly. He used to walk away from the hive, and he just very calmly unzips his thing, opens it, and the bee flies out. Didn't sting him. And I was like, man, I'd have fallen off the roof. I'd be dead.
I would have ran and jumped and just hoped for the best, to be honest. I would have been like, no, I'm done. I can't.
Yeah, but, he's amazing.
Love it, man. Love it. Ciaran, thanks again for coming on. And hopefully when we talk to you again in the future, things are looking up for everyone. And vulture funds have been confined to the past. Bees are flourishing everywhere. Merrow has a gaff of his own. And, the world's a better place.
Lovely stuff. Nice way to leave it. Thanks, boys. I enjoyed it.
Lovely, Ciaran.
Cheers, Ciaran, man. All the best.
Thank you.
He's got a good head and shoulders, this Ciaran, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a great head and shoulders. Lovely to talk to. He's a lovely gentleman.
He is. He talks a lot of sense, and as he says, he does his research, so what he's saying is accurate, and then he is willing to talk to two chancers like myself and yourself. He does no research whatsoever, and we're just like, here, did I hear this once? Is that a thing?
Yeah, like my Dara O'Brien thing. I'm doubting myself because you two didn't hear of it. So if I was wrong on that, people, apologies. But I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that he tried to publish a book and I couldn't get the green light. So
I'm sure
if it's wrong, I apologise. If I'm right, I told you so. You're
hedging your bets there, Graham. I like that.
Hedging my bets. The bee talk got me wanting some honey on toast.
Honey on toast?
Yeah, I used to live in it in Australia.
Oh, man.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah.
White toast and a bit of honey.
Would you butter that as well or no?
No. Just a honey.
So it's basically you're doing a jam on toast kind of situation. That sweetness with a bit of carbohydrates.
Yeah. Honey's lovely. Do you like honey?
Love honey. I put honey in my tea rather than sugar.
Are you serious?
I
never knew that.
Yeah.
What other hot beverages do you drink?
Coffee and tea. No, I wouldn't have a huge amount. Like now, if I was having coffee, I'd only have one coffee a day, and I might have a cup of tea in the evening to settle myself.
Very good.
Yeah.
I don't drink a hot beverage. If I'm picking, I would probably pick a hot chocolate.
I don't drink hot chocolate.
Love them.
No.
Well, I haven't had one in God knows how long, but still.
I've no time for hot chocolate because I'm not a 7-year-old girl, Graham.
Okay, Dan, where can anyone listen to us?
I'm sure some sort of gender people will get on to me about that comment. People can listen to us anywhere and everywhere that you can find a podcast, including the wonderful Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Podcast Republic, Podcast Addict. As I said, anywhere and everywhere, all you got to do is put in the letters WTSPOD, and me and Merrow will greet you with our big smiley cartoon heads. You can also go to WTSpod.com.
Perfect. And that's it for this week.
It is. Yeah, it is indeed. Yeah, make sure you check out all the social medias. Ciaran on social media, of course. Crazy House Prices on Instagram and on Twitter. if you're not already following them, definitely do check it out. Even if you're not trying to buy a gaff or whatever, there's entertainment there to be had, and also stuff to make you realise, fuck me, the place is mental at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
He's at American Mania. I'm at Dan Joe Murray. I'm gonna do a quick plug as well for what has now become, Graham, a passion of mine. I'll talk about this properly actually next week maybe.
What is it?
We talked about this a while ago, myself and yourself. I have got mad into playing the PlayStation lately. I think it's COVID, and I've got into competitive esports. And I'm calling it esports. I'm not just playing online games, Graham.
Right, we'll talk about it again.
Yeah.
That's a preview.
Shout out League of Ireland F1. I'm terrible. The lads are much better than I am, but yeah, we'll talk about it next week. It's mental, Graham. The world of online gaming is crazy, and I think we need to talk about it.
Well, get someone on for next week and we can talk about it.
I think we have some deals for next week. But the weekend, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're rambling.
Clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Can't lose. Too
sweet.